Hey there, baseball fans. It's your buddy Choppadong. I'm coming at you again April 15th, tax day. Hope you got your taxes filed. And I'm going to be talking a little bit of MLB DFS as we rock and roll. If you don't know me, you can find me out on Twitter at Choppadong. I am a lead editor of content for DFSArmy.com, the one-stop shop for everything DFS related, MMA to PGA. We bring it all to you with coaching, content, and tools daily at DFSArmy.com. Head down to the comments section if you want to become a member. Click the link, use coupon code CHOP. I throw in 20% off discount for you using that code, and that hopefully incentivizes you to jump in here and start building better lineups today. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about baseball. You saw a video hopefully last night. If you follow me, if you like and subscribe to the channel, which thank you very much if you do, ring the little notification bell. That way you get alerts on your phone when a new video drops. And honestly, we talked a little bit about kind of a little weekly review, something you just want to check periodically. What offenses are scoring runs, which ones are giving up runs, et cetera, et cetera. Well, today, I nerded out a little bit last night, and I thought this would be a good subject for a video today. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper, and then we'll go through the player pool stuff. So hopefully we're in and out of here in 10 or 15 minutes today and get you rocking and rolling. I went to Fangraphs, went under the pitching stats, again, went by the last 2 weeks. Sorted by ERA. Let's take the top 10. This is overall ERA. It's going to be very, very similar to runs allowed because, that's what an earned run allowed is another run allowed. The only two teams that did not appear on this top 10 list that were giving up runs but didn't have a top 10 ERA, bad ERA, were the Dodgers and the Colorado Rockies, which suggests some unearned runs, kind of pump that number up there a little bit. At any rate, when I look down this list of, Baltimore, Chicago, New York, Kansas City, Milwaukee, Boston, Miami, Minnesota, Philadelphia, and Chicago again, these teams are giving up a high ERA, which means the pitching staff's in trouble. And really and truly, we're splitting hairs. The Cubs, Athletics, Dodgers, there's not much difference here between these three. If you're looking at their numbers, the 0.01 apart, big whoop. But anything in that top 10, especially top 5, is something that I'm looking to attack with bats. It tells me the overall pitching staff on the team is not good right now. They're not pitching well right now. These numbers will change by July, but they're not pitching well right now. And so that's who I want to be attacking right now. Now, what else can I do? I can drill down a little bit deeper, and this is what I started thinking about this morning. Starters. I can go just by starters. Now, if I'm looking at starters, and forgive me, I'm going to get off on a diatribe here in just a minute. But until I do the diatribe, because it just pisses me off, I'm looking at the starting pitchers, right? This is the rotation. And we come down to top 10 again, and I'm looking at Chicago, Milwaukee, Boston, Colorado, Minnesota, LA Angels, Oakland, Philly, Texas, Kansas City, right? Now, some of the teams are on both lists of an overall bad ERA and just a starter's bad ERA, and some of the teams are not. The ones that are duplicated, Chicago White Sox, Milwaukee Brewers, Boston Red Sox, Philadelphia Phillies, Kansas City Royals. Those are the teams I especially want to attack. Their rotations are bad too, which means I can get off to a good start against these teams because their starters are giving up runs. I can get into their bullpens a little bit sooner. And their bullpens aren't good either because they're on the overall bad ERA list as well. Now, teams that are not on this list, let's say I find a great matchup for somebody going against the Los Angeles Angels. And the Angels, well, that's a rotation one. Let's say I go up against somebody who's not on this list, like the Texas Rangers. Well, the Rangers are on this list too. What the hell? I'm off. Let's just say I found a team that didn't have a bad starters ERA, but had a bad overall ERA. It suggests it's a little bit more bullpen heavy, right? That the starters are actually kind of okay. It's once you get into the bullpen that things unravel. Then why on earth, diatribe warning, why on earth would I tilt in the third inning? Why on earth would I be freaking out in the third inning? Oh, this game sucks. My night's over. I'm done. I'm telling you right now, there have been nights when I've had nothing going on for me, and most of the games are starting to end, and we're getting to the 7th, 8th, 9th innings, and then all of a sudden a 3-run homer hits over here, a double scores 2 runs over there, and boom, I score 50-some-odd points. My lineup goes from a 125 to a 180, and it's cashing freaking everywhere all of a sudden, and it happened in a half of an inning in 2 different games. Boom, boom, very late. Don't tilt in the 3rd or 4th inning. It makes you look like a moron, honestly. I know this is just supposed to be fun, and I should be allowed to tilt if I want to. And I'm going to tell you, grow the F up. And the reason why is, first of all, you look like a moron in front of everybody else when you're out there whining and bitching and moaning. You look like Sergio Garcia in a sand trap, swinging his club and dragging his spikes across the green. Well, Sergio's a professional athlete. He's supposed to be. You know what? Why don't you act like one too? Just once. Why don't we actually set the example? If we want other people to live like this, why don't we live like that ourselves? It makes no sense to me that people believe that they earned the right to bitch and ruin everybody else's day that's having a good day and drag everybody else down because they feel like shit themselves. It bothers me. This game of DFS is just like a sport in many areas. Yes, it's a sport of numbers. It's a sport of statistics. It's a sport of, trying to pin down the best matchups and whatever else. But it's also a sport in between your damned ears. It's a sport of emotional control. It's a sport of being even keel, not getting too high, not getting too low. I don't give a shit if you've lost 3 weeks straight. You need, in this area, to become a robot. It's not fun. It's not easy. Nobody said it would be easy. But you should be working on your brain and your mentality as much as you should be working on your game. Because it's the only way you're going to get better is if you learn how to shuck off those bad times and be like, no problem. I've got the bankroll to withstand that. No big deal. I'll go get them tomorrow. Those are the winners. It's just like you talk about in your sports when you want a coach that's more even keel. You don't want a coach that's, oh my God, we suck, oh, we're great, oh my God, we fucking suck, God, we suck so much. I'm throwing shit everywhere, oh my God, he scored a goal, we're great, yay! You don't want that coach. Everybody wants to talk about that coach on TV and they want to see him show some fire, but you don't really want him to lead your team because then your team becomes a team of basket cases. You need leaders that are stoic, that are even keel, that don't get too high and don't get too low because they've been there, done that, and got the t-shirt. Don't be that guy. If you are that guy, work on yourself. Dig in between your ears and knock that shit off. Because once again, you look like a moron to all of your friends, probably to your kids, and you lose credibility with people when you try to talk smart to them, when you try to talk intelligent to them. They don't pay attention. Excuse me. They don't pay attention to you anymore because they don't respect you. And I'm sorry if that's a little tough love. And I warned you the diatribe was coming. But the fact of the matter is, too many people are like that. This is an emotional game. I get that. I get emotional too. I just don't show you very often. Why? Because then you wouldn't listen to me. Let's get back on track because you probably stopped listening to me and tuned out anyway. Let's go through the player pool because now you've seen a little bit deeper of how we pick those pitchers and we attack those ERAs. Those are pitchers that I want to be stacking against. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm not going to throw my freaking pens all over the place and rip up my notebook in a mad rage of tilt. I'm just going to say it didn't work tonight. It makes too damn much sense to not work a lot. Attack bad pitching with bats. I don't care if it doesn't work tonight or if it doesn't work tomorrow. It's going to work because bad pitching gives up runs. Period. Speaking of bad pitching, let's take a look at the good pitching. Come over here, we'll sort by K-score, which is the strikeout potential, right? And then we'll run down the list here and look at some of the pitchers we're wanting to see. Freddie Peralta, Yu Darvish, Noah Syndergaard, Clayton Kershaw, who's overpriced today, Trevor Bauer, Aaron Nola, Lucchesi, Castillo, Cahill, whatever. We're getting down a little bit lower here now. But of these, we want guys that are cheaper priced that have high strikeout potential. So Freddie Peralta, danger. Yu Darvish, danger. Noah Syndergaard going up against the Phillies who can score runs. Clayton Kershaw coming off of a damned injury. Trevor Bauer, Seattle, highest scoring run, offense in the league right now. Nola and the Mets who are scoring second highest in the league, actually. Lucchesi, Colorado, okay, maybe you've got something there. So, I mean, none of this is really all that safe. Nothing is checking all of the boxes. If I look at the right blend, and this is going to scare you, but if I look at the right blend of price, K-score, and Vegas odds, it lands me on Yu Darvish, of all people. And that's frightening. And I'll probably talk myself off of you before the day's over. I probably won't even have a lot of Yu Darvish in my lineup, but on paper I probably should. This is new for this column too, the cap differential. What's that mean? Well, the salary cap differential. 7,800 is a certain percentage of your salary cap. 8,800 on DraftKings is a certain percentage of your cap. Well, where he's green is where he's cheaper. Freddie Peralta is cheaper on FanDuel. 4.7% of the FanDuel cap cheaper than of the DK cap at that price. Okay. Clayton Kershaw and Trevor Bauer are cheaper over on DraftKings than they are over on FanDuel. So if you play both sites, you can use this to kind of pick and match. If you like Clayton Kershaw a lot and you like Freddie Peralta a lot, you might play one on one site and one on the other tonight. That's how you use that. Anyhow, Yu Darvish is not a really, really strong. He's going up against Miami. I get that. I would have some Miami stacks tonight. I would have some Yu Darvish. And if I was building 3 or 4 or 5 lineups, which I will have a smattering of pitchers. I'm not going to have just Yu Darvish. I might have some of him, but I'm also probably going to have some Syndergaard, some Freddie Peralta, some Trevor Bauer, some Nola, Lucchesi, whatever. These are the types of guys, Cahill. These are the types of guys that I'm going to want pieces of because they show good Vegas odds. Well, a lot of them are 50-50 games today, but they show decent Vegas odds, and then they show K-score, and I'll take the K-score, and I'll take a cheaper price on a higher upside K-score than I will a high-priced guy. And the reason why is high-priced guys cost me a ton, and if both pitchers can get me 30 points, I want the cheaper pitcher doing it because I've got more room to go get quality bats. Speaking of bats, who would I be targeting? I'd be looking at the bottom end of this DFSA grade. So I'll sort that by descending. You can sort it by ascending if you want to. I've done that before myself. Sort it by descending. Push the bad ones to the bottom. And I'd be focused somewhere under the, maybe the pinks, somewhere up under about a Schumacher, somewhere in there. So I'd be looking at Minnesota, Boston, San Diego. I'd really be looking down here, though, at LA, Toronto, Cleveland, Kansas City, Milwaukee. These would be the guys I'd really be keying in on. And I'd be looking at guys with a high bad rating, so 18.6. That's who's that? Irvin Santana and then Shelby Miller. That's Kansas City and LA. And then I'd be looking also at their Sierra a little bit further over in here. And I'd be looking at a Philmeyer, Hoffman, Dakota Hudson, and the bottom 2, Perez and Miller. So Philmeyer, Chicago White Sox, Hoffman, San Diego, Dakota Hudson, Milwaukee, and the bottom 2, Perez and Miller. So Toronto and LA. LA again. LA's ringing a good bell tonight. They should be in a good spot to produce some runs. We should be looking at LA's offense and looking at who's doing the producing in there, and we can rely on the fact that that's most likely who will be doing the producing again tonight. Not always, but most of the time that typically works out. Okay, so now that I've got some stacks to be keying in on, I'm going to run over to the Trends tab, and it's going to show me 2 things. It's going to show me the DFSA grade, which I've noticed is starting to correlate really, really well. Starting to correlate really, really well with results. Anything in the 80s and above, is typically producing fairly well, and some are giving some really, really big games. Yes, you might have the random guy with a DFSA grade of a 60 pop off for a huge game, but generally speaking, the further down that grade list you go, the less the results come through. So you want to stay somewhere in this 80s to 100 range if you can. So let's look at the combination. I like the L7 Woba, who's swinging a hot bat. Let's look for a combination of L7 Woba guys that are also rated over an 80 or close to an 80. So let's look at the catchers, because DraftKings makes you do a catcher, right? And I'm looking at Mitch Garver, close to an 80, and Yasmani Grandal at a 95. So I'd be keying on these 2 guys today. They'd make my short list. Down here, the grades are a little bit lower. There's hotter guys. So if I didn't want to pay these prices, I might punt with a Luke Miley or a Kurt Casale or somebody because he's at least swinging a hot bat. He's got that going for him. Doesn't have a phenomenal rating, but I would be looking towards that if I didn't want to pay the prices because Grandal is going to be expensive and Mitch Garver's probably rising. First base, Nothing really. Except until we get down in here at 460, 440. Okay, so we got Mitch Moreland, Justin Bour. These guys are okay. I'd probably play them maybe over a couple of these guys because their rating's better as well, and they're over a 400, close to a 450 WOBA. I'd love a 630 WOBA, but I don't get a good grade with Vogelbach, so I might forego him. And I might not. It depends. He's still swinging hot bats, so it's great. But if I'm looking for a little bit of insurance, I'm looking for the higher DFSA grade. Come down here a little bit. Maybe I like a Max Muncy. Carlos Santana as part of my stacks. That's fine. Ryan O'Hearn at a 93 isn't swinging a hot bat. So he's got a great matchup, but I don't know that he's going to do anything with it. Now, he might, but I don't know that he's going to do anything with it. I'd be more focused on these guys that have solid matchups and look like they're able to do something with it currently because they're swinging a pretty solid stick. Second base. I got to get out of here because we went over 15 minutes. So I'm going to turbo through this. I'm looking at Listea. Moustakas, of course, at a 93. Strong rating, decent WOBA. And probably not a lot else. Third base, David Freese is not getting the at-bats, but Suarez, Dozier, those guys are up there. Matt Carpenter has an 88, but look, 341. Look at how shallow third base is. There's really not a lot going on at third base. So I'd probably be looking at Suarez or Dozier and taking my chances there. I guess I could be convinced of a Devers, but if he's cheaper. Probably don't need Nolan Arenado. He's not swinging a very high WOBA, and he's down here. He's expensive. He's got a good rating tonight, so I won't be surprised if he pops off. But I'm not expecting it based on the way he's currently swinging the bat. Shortstop. Paul DeYoung, Corey Seager, not much. Maybe a Jorge Polanco at a 428 WOBA and a 76. You know, it's not that much different than some of these guys. So if you wanted to jump up to a DeYoung at 533, you know, that's okay, I guess. 82, Xander Bogaerts has a solid matchup tonight, but Indian 400 set, okay. So it might be a Bogaerts type of night. That's okay. These are just typically the way that I'm going to sift through the slate and pick out my bats. I'm going to also be writing them down and keying on certain offenses, like outfield for LA in Mike Trout, because LA is the #1 stack on the night tonight. I want as much LA bats as I can find. And back at first base, Justin Bour was kind of borderline on that list. So a Trout-Bour mini stack might make a lot of sense. I've got 100 rating, and I've got a 650 current L7 WOBA right now. If he's not hurt, because he's orange here, if he's not actually hurt, then that's going to be probably very, very important on the slate tonight, as is Mike Moustakas. They're in very, very good spots to produce. But if I come down here looking a little bit more, 79, so Cody Bellinger's not bad, but I'm probably not going to get Bellinger and Trout in the same lineups. Come down here a little bit lower to a Ben Gamel, maybe. 86 for Emil Reyes is going to be cheaper, and a 450 WOBA and a good matchup. I like that. That's some salary relief. So these would be the guys I'd start building my lineups around. And then I'd start filling in some stacks around them if I wanted to. Or I might just keep playing the kind of the one-off game. If I'm playing more of the one-off game and I'm not stacking a ton, I'm probably going to lean towards cash games and 50-50s with that lineup because it's not overly exposed to any offense. If some offense gets a 0, I don't have 4 bats in it and end up screwing myself. That makes it a little bit safer, a little bit less likely to completely crap out on me. And that's when that lineup goes into your 50-50s and your head-to-head type cash game situations. Because you don't need to take a lot of risk to get into the top half of the field when you start getting paid. Now, if I want to get paid big and I want to be in a tournament lineup and I am doing a lot of stacking in my build, I see LA and I've got 2, 3, 4 bats I like, and then I jump over to, Seattle and I see 2 or 3 bats there that I like, then boom, all of a sudden I've got a GPP lineup. I won't be putting that lineup in a lot of head-to-heads because it's very, very likely if I'm only on those 2 offenses, LA and Seattle, that if LA gets 2 runs and Seattle only gets 3, I probably didn't have a very good night because 7 of my bats are coming out of those 2 offenses. Unless I got lucky and got the guy with the home run or got the guy whatever, I probably didn't have a very good night for the overall stack. And that chews up a large, large portion, 80% of my lineup, and really just keeps me from cashing anything. Now, in a tournament, I don't care because I have to do really, 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 really well to make good money. And I have to do pretty darn well just to make any money at all. So I'm taking that risk to hopefully really nail the offense that does well tonight. If it's Kansas City that scores 8 runs and I got 4 bats from Kansas City tonight, I'm looking really good. Okay? Now, one thing I'll hint at you is I don't think it's going to be very popular tonight, but I'll be watching the Kansas City and Chicago White Sox game. There's a lot going on. We saw them both on the bad ERA page. We saw the offenses are in good positions to stack because of bad ratings on pitchers. There's a possibility that that is a good game for a lot of runs tonight. And I would be focused there because not a lot of people are going to follow you into that game. That's my tip to you. If you like this type of stuff, you come into dfsarmy.com, you hit me up, you use the coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, trigger that 20% off discount. While you're down there, like and subscribe to the video, hit the notification bell so you get these when they get out of here. I will try to keep them 20 minutes or less going forward. That is going to be my dedicated New Year's resolution starting on April 15th. All right, let's move forward, guys. Let's go win a lot of money. Let's have a positive EV day, and come see me inside dfsarmy.com. I'm Chopadong, and I'm out of here.